Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jedley. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so very happy and so delighted that you're joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. How do we do that? By sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. Please be sure to tell all of your family and friends about the show and let them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, Audible, CastBox, Player FM, Boomplay, wherever you find your favorite shows. We have 3 wonderful guests for you today. A little bit later on, we're going to be meeting Lisa Jacovsky. She is coming back to the show to celebrate Happy Thoughts Going to the Aquarium. But first up, our friends from Expound Publicity, Lori Olinsky and Allison Bork. Get ready for a heartwarming adventure in Mommy's Day Off, the delightful picture book written by Jacqueline Christine. When young Louie's mom has to be away for a day, he's in for a wild ride with his dad. From waffle and ice cream breakfast to Wild West battles, they embark on an unforgettable journey filled with laughter and bonding. But as the day unfolds, Louie realizes there's a special magic that only his mom can bring to their home. Join Louie as he discovers the irreplaceable role his mom plays in his life, making Mommy's Day Off a touching tale of family, love, and the unique bond between a mother and her child. Get your copy today at Amazon or at JacquelineChristine.com. We would like to invite you to embark on a transformative journey with The Invisible Backpack, A Life of Courage, written by William Hartwick. Are you burdened by past hurts, grief, or trauma? William's heartfelt narrative, born from his own struggles with depression and Tourette syndrome, offers a pathway to lightening your load. Just like you, he knows the weight of an invisible backpack, growing heavier as life unfolds. But in his touching story, William invites you to courageously unpack it, making space for forgiveness, acceptance, tolerance, and love. Join William on a profound exploration of healing, blessings, and inner strength. Through William's vulnerability, he reveals the power of embracing your true self. Don't miss this inspirational tale of resilience and hope. Order your copy of The Invisible Backpack today and embark on a journey of self-discovery and courage. This episode is brought to you by Jane Escapes to the Jungle of Individuality, a delightful book by Jennifer Nestor. This captivating, award-winning children's book celebrates the beauty of uniqueness and self-acceptance, inspiring young readers to embrace their own individuality by covering important topics like bullying, high-functioning anxiety, and mindfulness. This vibrant picture book is perfect for kids aged 4 to 9. Be one of the first to pre-order and take advantage of the exclusive early bird reward specials starting on Monday, April 29th through Kickstarter, like signed hardcover copies, Jane plushies, Jane backpacks, posters, and more. Act now by visiting JenneStoreAuthor.com. That's spelled JenneStoreAuthor.com and clicking the pre-order button today. Joining us right now are the founders of Expound Publicity. Please welcome back to the show 2 of my favorite people in the world. First, from Chicago, Lori Olinsky. Hey, Lori, how are you?
I'm great. It's so good to be back.
And joining us from Louisiana is Allison Bork. Hey, Allison, how's it going?
Going great. Thanks for having us.
I met Lori and Allie through their role as authors. They've both been on celebrating their books on the show. Allie recently was on celebrating her Alley Cat series. And I met Lori when she first came on to celebrate her book. I hope I'm getting the title right. Being Small Ain't So Bad After All.
Close enough. Yep. Is it so bad after all? Gosh, that was a while ago.
It was a while ago, and I got a chance to meet Lori's daughter, Haley, who was the inspiration for the book. And Haley actually came on, and we read the book together. And Allison, Haley said that I read better than her mom. But and it's just been a fun friendship for the three of us. And I'm so excited that you've decided to create this publicity company, easy for me to say, that's really helped authors get their work out into the world.
Thank you. I can't believe it's been 4 years already, and we've helped to launch and promote over 550 books.
Wow, that's amazing. Allison, what was it when you started the company? What was the goal? Help a couple of authors get out there? Any thought that you'd be celebrating 500 authors when you were launching?
We had no idea. So the goal was just to help other authors on their writing journey. We had some successes originally, and feeling that pride and love for creativity, Lori and I both just wanted to help others. So we took on one client to help her get more exposure for her book, and then it just exploded from there.
Yeah. And Lori, one of the things we've talked about here in the podcast is that a lot of authors, especially indie and self-published authors who are just getting their feet wet, they don't understand that when they publish that book, they're doing more than just publishing a book. They are starting a small business. And unless an author has that in mind and understands that they're going to need to do publicity and marketing and sales and inventory and all that, the book might be read by their family and friends, but not many other people.
Yeah, they're an authorpreneur. It's actually a word that's being used right now. So many different hats. They're not just, the writer. They help with illustrations. They help with designs. They're designing. They're doing their own social media. They're doing their marketing. They're doing events. They're doing everything. So I don't think that a lot of people realize that the hard part is actually not submitting your book. That's just step one of it. It's everything that follows. And we really try and help authors navigate those uncharted waters, because we were in their shoes, first of all. And a lot of what we do is we learn from what worked for us and what didn't work for us. Unfortunately, there are just so many scams out there right now. There are so many people that try and prey upon authors, whether it's people that are posing as movie agents and they're, asking for money to read a script and never get back to you. Or there's, award companies that aren't legitimate awards, or social media influencers that buy their followers and they're charging. And so there's unfortunately so many traps that new authors can fall into. And part of what we do is we educate authors on what is appropriate and what is not appropriate, and help them take the steps to move forward.
It is upsetting that there are so many scammers out there, people who are looking to take advantage. And in my experience, a lot of the indie and self-published authors, there are a lot of teachers, a lot of retired teachers, folks who are really committed to helping kids, and they want to get the word out there, and they have a little bit of resources, but they're not at a point in their life where they can afford to drop $10,000, $15,000 on something that's not going to have any kind of return.
Right. It could be an expensive hobby, but, it's so rewarding. And as long as you do it right and don't, waste your money on things that are not beneficial of getting your target audience down that sales funnel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Lori, you mentioned social media. Why is social media so important, and what do authors need to think about?
Oh, social media is Allie's jam, so I'm going to let her talk about that one. She manages our social media content creators. That's her hobby.
So social media is so important. So what we're finding in the latest trends of social media is that people are not liking comments. They're not sharing as much. They're not interacting. They're scrolling. Everyone's busy. Make it easy. Make it concise. Always have a link to buy somewhere in there, but don't make it sound salesy. A lot of trends in social media are going towards how you can help people, especially with, the mental health awareness movement. Make sure your posts are aligned with helping others to grow and how maybe your book has those hidden messages. So just giving tips and tricks on how to conquer situations is super important in social media. It's ever changing. We really advise clients to go to Instagram. That's where most of the bookstagrammers are. TikTok has a lot of adult book target audience, but typically Instagram is the best forum for finding your target audience.
Yeah. I've heard that your social media post, I think the ratio was 80% of the post should be helpful and 20% should be buy my book.
Yes, absolutely. It should. And it's hard because, if you're getting accolades or getting awards or you're launching a book, it's hard to not post all of that. So we try to counsel our clients to steer it towards helping others. Pull out quotes from your book and just make a graphic with that quote. Talk about and elaborate within the caption on that quote, and always guide your audience of how this can be problem solving, especially for children's books, how it can motivate kids to do new things, try new things. Just find out what will help a parent or a librarian or teacher with that book and how they can educate with your product.
Yeah. Lori, I'm imagining that one of the challenging things about marketing a book for kids is that you have a product that's appealing to kids, but kids aren't typically the ones who buy it. So you have to influence the adults who are buying. It's something that I ran into as somebody presenting educational magic shows. Early on in my career, I did lots of slapsticks and physical comedy that the kids loved, but the teachers hated. And it took me a while to kind of get off my high horse and be a little humble and say, yeah, but the teachers are the one that are buying and booking me here. How would you advise authors to kind of deal with that dilemma, if you would?
One of the things that we help authors do is build credibility for themselves. And credibility is big for people that are buying books, both in the industry side, so librarians and book buyers for stores like Barnes & Noble and independent stores, and then consumers who are parents. Building credibility for an author, it could consist of professional reviews and awards, anything that makes the author seem like they're knowledgeable in their subject. It's obviously amazing to be an author, but to actually be professionally reviewed by certain companies or to have awards behind you, to have a strong website and SEO presence, you're building that foundation so consumers are seeing that you are legitimate in a sense. And so building credibility is one of the first things that we advise authors to do, because there's just, especially after the pandemic, everyone wrote a book. Everyone published a book, whether they self-published it, hybrid published it, traditionally published it. We have to make authors stand out. And I think that's how parents and teachers and book buyers, what's one of the first ways that they can see an author is different and legitimate.
Yeah. Allie, I heard an interesting conversation listening to a podcast, and the people were talking about, as in terms of you're creating something that you're going to want to sell, that the public is going to want to buy at some point. And a lot of people, they look at the trends and they go, okay, today we're recording this in April 2024. And right now the top selling books on Amazon are dealing with X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to sit down. I'm going to write a book about X, Y, and Z because it's trending right now. And my book will be ready to go out there and be for sale 6 months, a year from now. And by that time, X, Y, and Z may not be popular anymore. So how can authors kind of sit down? I know a lot of authors, they're like, I really feel passionate about this subject. Great. But you're also like, you're an entrepreneur, so you need to write something that's going to sell. How do you think authors can kind of predict what the trends are going to be in the future?
So that's a great question, because Lori and I recently got a pandemic book, and anyone with any kind of, experience in this industry knows that the pandemic is not something that anyone wants to read about anymore. And so, of course, if you're looking to just jump on the recent wave of something that's going on right now, you're going to be too late. So we always advise, if they're looking for any kind of creative second book, third book to our current clients, look at what might go on in 2025, 2026. There are always different events that go on. So next month is National Pet Month. And so that can be your hook when you're releasing a book, and just know that release it, time it where it's about April, getting close to May. Of course, there's Christmas and there's Halloween, but look at the National Day calendar and try to find a hook with one of those really fun days. So I just released the Sunday Scaries book, and Lori was helping me with my marketing, and she had kind of an out-the-box idea of targeting media with the daylight savings time. But of course, with her brilliant marketing brain, it was, let's start a month, 2 months ahead of time so that they can be adequately prepared. And so we did that, and her article on the book landed in over 20 different parent magazines for daylight savings time. And I never would have thought that, but you just have to think out of the box. And if you need like an easy way, go to that national calendar that's online, where it has all of these fun things like National Pet Month.
Yeah. Lori, that's an interesting thing, because I get pitches here in the podcast, and we record everything for future publication. My calendar is booked solid through the end of May, but I know I will be getting pitches over the next 2 weeks from authors, from publishers, wanting me to celebrate their book for Mother's Day. And it is way too late. It's way too... What kind of time frame? If a book is coming out in March, when do people have to start creating their publicity plan or their marketing plan?
So if you're targeting like long lead magazines, definitely 6 months in advance would be the minimum time that I would start. But if you're thinking about podcasts and news articles, again, you have to think about the availability, the production time. So probably I would say 3 months, but definitely people think that they can just do last minute pitches for some of these things. And it's really hard unless you're at least 3 months out. You've kind of missed it. And when we talk about things like summer reading, certain times of year, holidays, back to school, that's more like 4 to 5 months, because it's big, larger trends.
Yeah. I guess it's really hard for people who are a teacher and a writer and a mom to kind of put all those and juggle all those different hats. So that's why people would turn to folks like you and Expound Publicity.
Right. And so I think what I've learned over the last few years is that you get more results when you make it easy for your audience or your bookstores or your news media. So with bookstores, we try to make it easy on them, where we're offering our clients to go for a story time. They have a story time every Saturday at 11 a.m., usually at Barnes & Noble. So we offer that, a free story time. And if they have time after, maybe a signing. We offer, different things with the media where we're pitching a full idea and a full hook. That way they don't have to do so much of the research and the writing. So it's just making things easier for people who you actually want something in return from.
Yeah.
And speaking, earlier Allie mentioned the pandemic. The pandemic just burned people out, especially when they were working remotely. They were working with short staff, small budgets. So that is part of the reason. I mean, people are finally kind of getting that energy back in the workforce. So it is giving them every single thing they need so they don't have to do much. They don't have to do much more than lift a finger. And we want to make it so our author is their go-to. If they have somebody cancel on them last minute, they can go right to our author and say, hey, do you have time to come in and do a story time? Can you provide a quote about why, about reluctant reading in kids? So we try and form these relationships with people that we work with and actually extend those relationships over to the clients as well.
Yeah. It's exciting. How have you both felt about this experience? You went from being authors and now you're out there helping other authors find success. Allie has been, and you've had multiple careers and been successful in all of them. Is this bringing you as that Japanese television personality? I can't think of her name. Does this spark joy with you?
Oh, Kondo, Marie Kondo.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. This is so fun. When you wake up each morning and, after you get your kids off to school and you're running to your computer to check your email to see if, a news source has written back about something that you pitched for your client, or checking if they've won an award. I mean, that is so much fun. It brings so much joy. And a lot of people said, I can't believe you're authors helping other authors, but why not? Why not help each other out, especially if it brings this much happiness to us?
Yeah. And Lori, it's been really, you and I have been friends and for pretty close to 7 years, almost the entire life of the podcast. And how have you seen things change in your short time in Kidlit?
So, I will say diversity and inclusion has become so much more important than ever, as it should. There are so many, especially parents, and you mentioned teachers earlier, that have books that they have in their head they want to put to paper because they don't think that it currently exists. And they think that, gosh, I am filling a void in the marketplace. And that's especially true with our clients. We have a client who wrote a book series about her son who has cochlear implants. And she actually shows those cochlear implants in the book. So you can see the pictures of him wearing them. And when he was a little kid, there were no books that showcased kids like him. And the same is true for kids that have, we've done so many. We've done disability books for kids. We've done different races and different holidays to make people feel more included, because the world, when we were growing up was very, everybody looked like a Barbie doll in books. It was very white. It was very blonde. And now it's just so much more important. So we're seeing a big push to diversity and inclusion. And we're also seeing a lot focused still on STEM, especially for females, which is really important too. There's even recognition of National Women's International History Month. There's Women's STEM Month. Women are still underrepresented in STEM, in those fields. And so the thought is that if you can get them hooked on it early enough and interested early enough, they may pursue careers in that path. And so STEM is another one that popped up, but I don't think is going to go away. One more thing, kind of out of the pandemic, maybe twofold. One is we're seeing more books about mental health, like feelings, expressing your feelings. For a long time, we told kids to kind of bottle up their feelings and smile and just pretend that nothing was going on behind closed doors. And now books encourage kids to be mindful and to have different techniques for breathing and to have a growth mindset. On the other end, people were so inundated with books that were teaching lessons maybe during the pandemic because we were stuck at home and we had to find a way to educate our kids, that there's now a move towards some interactive storytelling. So asking questions of the authors. One of my favorite books picture books is Press Here, where you actually have kids press the little dots and then you turn to the next page and you make multiple dots. And so it's interactive storytelling, asking kids questions, having them do things. Some of these are trends that may just stay for a few years, but I think some of them will stay long term.
Well, we're hoping that especially the inclusivity aspect, that trend continues on. I think that's really important. Before we go, you mentioned scams early on, and we just kind of brushed over it. But can you talk about some of the things that people should be aware of when they're considering a book award or talking to a movie producer? I'm guessing you probably shouldn't pay anybody, movie producers, to read a script.
No.
But Allie, you have the background in the law. So why don't I start with you? What kind of things should people be aware of and steer clear of?
So typically, no one's going to email you and ask if they can review your book for free. Unless it's a fan, someone that has read multiple books, which they should be buying your book if they're a fan. No one is going to do that legitimately. So stay away from anyone who offers to review or feature your book on their feed. And there are so many Instagram feeds out there and profiles that have 100,000 followers. Those are, obviously not real followers. Check out their followers. Check out the comments and see if there's multiple comments and likes. If they have 100,000 followers and they have 2 likes, you should probably stay away from them. And so with award submissions, it's okay to pay the committee as a reader fee or submission fee. These people are doing this as their job. And some of them might be a little scammy, but do your research. And Lori and I have done this for many, many years. We know which awards and reviews are scammy. We know which ones are legit and have real readers. We work with a lot of editorial review companies that we personally know these reviewers. We know what kind of books that they like. We know that they're actually very avid readers and they appreciate books. And so it's hard to decipher sometimes what can be scammy, but never pay when someone emails you for something to be featured on their Instagram feed or Facebook posts.
Yeah.
And a general rule of thumb, it's kind of like, with telemarketers and scams, if somebody calls you, you don't give out your personal information. You are going to be the one to initiate the call. And so nobody legitimate is, and phones are actually a big thing. Allie and I ourselves and our clients get so many phone calls from random area codes, asking, saying they're a big New York store. We want to feature you on our shelf for 2 months. The cost is X. None of that is legitimate. Unfortunately, we've known people that have fallen victim to that, and you really can't get your money back. We would just encourage clients never to, when somebody reaches out to you and it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. You want to be the one reaching out to other people, and mostly reviews are in exchange for honest feedback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Such great advice. I'll throw another one in there. Don't pay anybody to introduce you to somebody else. That's, we don't need that. Where can people go to reach out to you to find out how Expound Publicity can help them in their Kidlit journey?
Yep. So they can head over to our website, expoundpublicity.com, or they can email us at info@expoundpublicity.com.
And I just want to take this one last moment. Lori's daughter that I mentioned earlier on, Haley, is a really amazing young woman. I don't know if there's a final count. During the pandemic, she created this project when she was 6 or 7. And she started making bracelets, and she decided that she was going to sell them to raise money for a children's hospital. And I thought, well, that would be really great if she raises $50 or $60. That would be quite an accomplishment. But instead, she raised a grand total of
$55,000.
That's incredible. Incredible. So, your kids can do something amazing too. And if you have a great idea for a book, make sure that you understand that you are becoming an entrepreneur when you write that. And don't hesitate to reach out to two people that we trust and we can endorse, Allison Bork and Lori Olinsky, the founders and driving force behind Expound Publicity. My friends, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having us. We love coming on and chatting with you, and it is just so fun. And, as Allie and I we started before we met, and you and we started a friendship before we met, and so it was finally so nice to be able to get together in person. So we hope as more book events get off the ground, we can actually do something in person.
Sounds like a plan. Attention all adventure seekers. Get ready to embark on an epic journey with Tim Wright's The Adventures of Toby Baxter middle grade series. Join Toby Baxter on his thrilling escapades filled with mystery, friendship, and courage. With 2 exciting books already in the series, now is the perfect time to catch up before the release of the highly anticipated 3rd installment. Book 1, The River Elf, The Giant, and the Closet, is a high-flying middle-grade fantasy. If you like daring journeys, hilarious characters, and heartfelt lessons about confidence, then you'll love the 1st installment in the series. Book number 2 is River Home for the Holidays, a humorous, tongue-in-cheek middle school age science fiction book. This quest is filled with holiday fun, dangers, and inspiration, sure to capture the imagination of lovers of thriller and fantasy adventures. But the adventure doesn't stop there. Be prepared for even more excitement in the upcoming release of book number 3, Aloha River Home, The Good Prophecy. Don't miss out on the excitement. Start your adventure today with books number 1 and 2 and be ready for Tim's book number 3 when it hits the shelves. The Adventures of Toby Baxter Middle Grade Series by Tim Wright. It's available wherever books are sold. Are you looking for a creative way to bond with your kids? Let me tell you all about Drawing with Your Kids, the ultimate destination for artistic adventures. Join us as we dive into the wonderful world of children's books with renowned illustrators guiding you step by step. From beloved characters to whimsical scenes, unleash your imagination and create cherished memories together. Whether you're a seasoned artist or just picking up a pencil, there's something for everyone at Drawing with Your Kids. Please visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com, and click on the Drawing with Your Kids link at the top of the page and let the creativity flow. Drawing with Your Kids, where every stroke brings stories to life. Join us right now from the beautiful state of New Jersey. Our guest is returning to the show to celebrate 2 new books. Happy Thoughts, Going to the Aquarium, and Bones and Friends, The Case of the Missing Mice. Please welcome back to the show, Lisa Jacovsky. Hey, Lisa, how are you?
I'm good, Jed. How are you?
I am doing wonderfully. I'm so excited to have you back on the show. I remember we had a great conversation probably about a year or so ago.
I think it was like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Year and a half. Yeah. So I'm really excited to be back, and I have lots more books.
And one of the things I know about you is you hope that your books help folks have a better understanding about people with autism.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the great thing with having this platform. I had 2 new books come out, and they're very different and special. So hopefully that helps people even more.
So let's start by talking about Happy Thoughts. I love Happy Thoughts.
I know. It's very relevant because the character that narrates, it's a spinoff of my Let's Talk series. And the character that narrates is the little one with autism. So she doesn't talk verbally. She uses note cards that she can read and a notepad that she can write in. So when she's narrating, it's in a thought bubble. So it's her actual thoughts, and they're happy thoughts. So that's where the title from that came from.
That is really cool. You know, we've had their autism. I'm just fascinated. I was, before I became a magician and podcaster, I worked in human services. And this was 35 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And at that time, when you heard the word autistic, the people that you met, the kids that I was working with, were very different. All the kids I worked with were nonverbal, and there was really not a lot of understanding about kids with autism. Now, of course, the spectrum is very wide, and when you say a person with autism, you really have no, is it somebody that is nonverbal like the kids that I worked with, or it's somebody who is going to work with me and is just slightly looks at the world in a different way.
Exactly. And that's what the great thing about this book is, because so many kids are nonverbal like that. And families think because they can't talk with their mouth, they can't talk, period. And that's not the case at all. There's so many other ways they can communicate. And that's why I thought this was a great idea. And it's actually someone who gave me a review on my Let's Talk Going to the Zoo book that gave me the idea. But it shows that she can be out in the world. She can go to the aquarium. She can make friends. She can do anything and everything anyone else can, but she just talks differently than we do. And that's totally okay, and with the resources now and the spectrum being so broad, there's so much more out there, and we need to really show that to families.
Absolutely. And I'm imagining, we talk a lot about representation here on the show, and when books being mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors. Do you get the sense that a kid who is neurodivergent, that it's really important for them to see themselves and somebody like them in the pages of books?
100%. And that's something that I was actually very nervous about with publishing this book, is how was the community going to receive it. And I'm so blessed and so lucky that it has been received so wonderfully. And I actually did a book reading in March, and the kids were so cute. The self-contained classroom, special education children stayed after, and the teacher, we were talking, I was answering more of the questions, and the teacher's like, "You're a celebrity to them." I was just like, what? I was totally shocked. I was like, you guys are like celebrities to me. They were so cute and so sweet, and they were so excited. And she brought that up too. She's like, they can see themselves in your book, and they never see that. And if you look at books about autism, ASD, ADHD, anything like that, it's always one character. It's rarely about friendship or different social issues, and they're mostly male. So to have different ethnicities, different genders in this book, I had the dads taking them to the aquarium instead of the moms. It's really nice for children to see themselves portrayed that way and be able to relate that way too.
Yeah. And of course, I really love the fact that books can be windows to give us a look at somebody who might be from a different culture, different race, speak a different language, and think and see and perceive the world slightly differently.
Exactly. And that was something that was very, very important to me, to have diversity in my books. I wanted to showcase different cultures, different ethnicities. And, my Let's Talk 4 book has 3 different holidays. So it's more than Christmas. And, even with Happy Thoughts with the aquarium, so many books showcase dolphins or, sharks. And it was really cute. I had a reading, and one of the kids was like, "Your book mentions sharks, but doesn't show it in the illustration." And I was like, yeah, because I wanted to showcase something else. And I showcased beluga whales and seals, and the kids were so cute. They were so excited to see the beluga whales in the book. They had all these questions about them, and it was really, really nice to get to show something they wouldn't normally see in a book, because we have books that focus on certain genders, certain ethnicities, even certain animals. So to be able to bring so much diversity to my books, it's just such a blessing to me. It's something I love so much.
Yeah. Where does your passion for advocating for kids with autism and other neurodiverse kids, where does that passion come from?
It's definitely from my career. I've been in applied behavior analysis for almost 10 years, and I just switched to teaching as a professor of psychology full-time in January. But I will say, too, it comes from my family. The way I was raised was be open to anyone, anything, doesn't matter. and that's how my parents raised me and my brother. And I'm really thankful they did that, because I feel like my world is so much larger, so much more beautiful because of that. And I really want to instill that in anyone and everyone that I meet, my students, kids that read my books, my nieces and nephews, my kids, eventually, so it's something that started when I was a kid. My parents loved to help as well. And I've been lucky enough to have that translate into my career and, be able to combine my passion for writing and for also advocating has been something that's so incredible. I'm extremely lucky.
Yeah. So let's talk about the story that we'll experience when we visit the aquarium in Happy Thoughts.
So in this story, the girls go to the aquarium for the first time, and Emma has social anxiety. So she gets very, very nervous, doesn't know what to do when a little boy comes over and tries to talk to her. And what happens is she actually runs away, and you can see in her thought bubble when she's talking, she's like, I don't know what to do. That scared me. But then her best friend Harper comes over and talks to the little boy and tells him that, Emma has autism, explains what it is and how to communicate with her. And one thing I made sure to do was have that little boy say, okay, if she's nervous, I'm not going to push her. So children learn the right way to interact rather than being, because children get so excited, they get pushy and they don't mean to. But this way children can see like, hey, if I just take a step back and learn for a minute, I can interact with her the right way. So the little boy learns how to interact, and this helps Emma open up, and they end up all having this wonderful day at the aquarium together, and she learns how to make a new friend.
That's really wonderful.
Thank you.
When I first started working in human services, the idea back in the late 80s, the idea of inclusion, it really wasn't spoken of. And the program I was hired to lead an inclusion program. And the reason, I'm pretty sure the reason they hired me is that this school that was part of a hospital figured I would fail. And they wanted it to fail because the idea of inclusion what do you mean? These kids have to be in a hospital, and they have to have all this support, and they can't go to school with typical kids. And so they hired this guy who wanted to be a clown, and it was a raging success. The program that we created was wonderful, and that was back in the 80s. But as I was saying, this idea back then was unheard of. And I'm so glad that we're not only talking about inclusion, but one of the first things that I heard, regarding the whole topic was a lot of the kids that we're talking about, a kid in a wheelchair can't get up and walk. We want them to walk. We want them to be able to run, but, they can't. And so what we have to do is we can adapt. The kid can't adapt to live like us, but we can adapt to help the kid fit in better and to be included. And that was a lot of words for saying, I'm really happy that we're starting to change. We're not there yet. We still got a long way to go, and it's taken an awful long time. But I don't know. Are you hopeful that, we're going to see a point in the not too distant future where all kids are kind of sitting down and go, oh, he just looks at the world differently. He's my buddy.
I do see a bit of a change starting. I see it more when it comes to families that are younger. I think the last thing that's going to be open to change, and I think it really needs a very serious change, is our education system. Mm-hmm. So I do see it with families that I talk to at fairs that I go to, my students. I see a lot of difference in my students after I talk to them, and the people that work in the field. So I am seeing changes, and even through my own podcast, I'm seeing a lot more companies being created for individuals specifically with autism to work at, which is incredible. Because my next, actually neither one of these books, but I have another book coming out that Brainstorm Productions has illustrated, and they employ individuals with autism. So I'm seeing tiny changes, and a lot more authors are coming out that have autism, or they're writing about it from the field. But where we really need the biggest change and where we really need the biggest overhaul is our education system. Mm-hmm. The way they treat inclusion, like you were talking about, they thought it was going to fail. You know, and I'm not surprised you made a huge success because you're awesome, and I'm so glad that you did, you know. But working in a school for the last year, even talking to special ed teachers over the weekend, it's crazy and mind-blowing to me how rough our schools are when it comes to inclusion, you know. And I do see the changes, but the school system is where we really need the change. And I think that's where it's going to take the longest. And I think that's where the most important changes come from. So I think when we get to that point that we overhaul our school system and really make those changes, that's when I think we can say we've made a really big positive impact.
Well, you know, I'm really happy that you are as valuable as you were working with kids directly. I'm really glad that I'm assuming you're teaching the future teachers, or a lot of the people that you're teaching now are future teachers. Like. And I know that part of the reason that I was able to be successful back in 1989 is that I had no idea what I was doing. And I mean, what I mean to say is I didn't have anybody tell me what the kids I was working with couldn't do. I just went in there and I treated them like kids. Yeah.
And that's what you have to do. And that's what I teach my family, is that I still have an early intervention, and I teach my students, because so one class I'm teaching right now is called Abnormal Psychology, and it's my favorite class to teach at Union College. And I'm about to teach it at Southern New Hampshire University online in a couple of weeks too. And the last 2 terms, I taught this class called Individual Differences and Special Needs at SNHU, which has been phenomenal too. And it's so interesting to see these students learn, to see them get excited and be like, I didn't know this, I didn't know that. But, you know, and to have the conversations I'm having with my students in my abnormal class, it's so amazing. I teach 3 classes in a row, and from abnormal to my research class, the conversations carry over. And my students will sit in between on their breaks and continue to talk and continue to have these conversations. And it's so heartwarming, you know, because they want to make this change. They want to go out into psychology and do something with what they're learning. And I've had a bunch of students, actually a student from my first class I ever taught, ever, in 2022, email me and be like, Professor, I just got into ABA. I love it. Thank you so much. You inspired me. And I'm seeing so much of that. I have 23 students in my normal class. I actually have about 80 students at Union right now. It's insane. But to see them be so happy, be excited, and, you know, they want to go out there, they want to make that change. It really fills my heart so much. And I can't wait to see them go out there and make that change. It's incredible. Best thing I could have done was want to become a professor, and God bless Union for giving me the chance. I just like, this is incredible. You know, these are the people that are going to make a change. Well, you know,
that's really, really, really exciting. I remember one of the things that we did is I would take kids swimming. And of course, the kids that I was working with in my school had severe developmental disabilities, and most of them couldn't walk and couldn't do things and couldn't talk and whatnot. But there was one girl who was in a wheelchair who loved to swim, and she could swim on her back without any kind of flotation devices. And
That's incredible.
It was incredible. And when she was moving to a new school, I wrote this in a report, and the people were like going, no, you're wrong. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm wrong? No, this is impossible. And the people came to the pool, and they saw Kerry swimming, and they sat there saying, no, this isn't happening. And I'm like, I'm not a magician yet. I can't do this.
Exactly. That's what I tell them. They're only limited by the people in their family. They can do any and everything, you know, and for them to see that, it must have been like in disbelief.
It was total disbelief. Anyway, hey, I can't believe that we've gone this far and we haven't talked at all about Bones and Friends, the case of the missing mice.
So that is actually a spinoff of my book, Perfect, P-U-R-R, As I Am, and that's about 3 special needs kitties, so continuing with the theme. And these kitties, one has hydrocephalus, which is water on the brain, so it makes their heads big, their eyes a little strange, but I think they're adorable. Cute little tiny bodies. One cat has 3 legs and one is blind, and the one that's blind narrates the story. So the idea behind Bones and Friends is each book in the series is going to be a different mystery a different little one solves with their brothers using their special need. So it shows that these kittens, even though one can't see, he can still smell and hear, so he can still play like a normal kitten. You know, I read the book at a book reading last week, and one asked me, how does he run with 3 legs? I'm like any other kitten. Like any other cat, he runs just fine, doesn't know any different. And same thing with the little one with Hydro. You know, he's tiny, so he can get in those little crevices, you know, so it's a great way to show people that animals have special needs too, and even though they do, they can be the same as any other cat. Just like our little humans with autism.
Yeah. You know, at that school, we had a little girl with hydrocephalus. I can't say the word. And
Hydro for short.
Hydro. So she was adorable. Same, you know, the head and the small body. She was in a lot of pain most days, you know, because that swollen head, it causes a lot of pressure. And we noticed that one particular song on the radio that was sung by Jeffrey Osborne, she really dug it. And oftentimes, you know, she would go because of the pain and the pressure, sometimes she would bang her head. And this song would come on, and she would stop, and she would smile. And one day, the people at the school, the aides, they had the local radio station on. They said, Jeffrey Osborne's at the studio. You got to go. You got to bring her. And I said, okay. And picked up the phone, made some calls. And the people at the radio station said, come on down. And so this little girl got to meet Jeffrey Osborne, and he sang for her. And it was the same thing. It was obvious she was in pain. Everybody was uncomfortable seeing this girl who was suffering. And then Jeffrey sang. And she smiled, and she lit up, and Jeffrey started crying. Everybody in the studio started crying. It was just amazing. And
that's beautiful.
Yeah. And you know, the reason I'm sharing, the reason I'm sharing it on the podcast is that I truly hope that people open up their hearts.
Yep.
Because that little girl changed Jeffrey Osborne that day. It changed, it helped him understand how his music was touching people. One of the girls in that school she was the reason I met my beautiful wife. You know, so when we're open to people who are different from us, not only people who speak different languages and different races from different countries, but who think and have different abilities than us, our worlds can be so enriched.
Exactly. It opens up this huge world for you, and it's so beautiful. You know, in your open different cultures, you learn so much. I just don't understand people who are so narrow, you know, that they only have this and this in their life. Like, to me, all my nieces and nephews are mixed races, and you know, my cats are incredible. I did a festival at a farm sanctuary Saturday, and right behind me is a foster, and one of them had one eye, this little baby, and I'm just like, he's so freaking cute. My boyfriend was like, I thought you were coming home with him. You know, and it's, you know, and look at all the books that I have. Like, it broadens your world, it broadens your horizons, and I feel like it just makes everything so much better in your world.
Yeah. And I think part of the reason people are, I don't know, closed-minded, I'm not sure if that's the word, but I think it's out of fear.
Yes, 100%. Fear of change And it's also the fact that not enough positivity is put out there. You know, you're talking about back in the 80s. That's when it was extremely rough for individuals with autism. We had developmental centers. We had just gotten rid of electric shock therapy. You know, well, they still do it, but very, very different now. It's a lot more control. But we had gotten rid of all the abuse in the 80s. You know, so we still have that in our backs of our minds, and we still have people who don't understand autism who, you know, as pediatricians or medical providers or, you know, even in ABA don't do things correctly. So you hear these horror stories. But if we can put out this positivity, especially through books, you know, like you mentioned, they're windows to things, and they really capture children's attention with the illustrations and the stories. So, you know, if we can put this positive stuff out there, we can change that narrative. We can help families be more comfortable, understand their child, understand their animals and pets more. And that's what we really need more of.
Yeah. Well, we need to tell people where they can go to find out more about you and find out more about your great books.
Absolutely. All my books are on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Happy Thoughts is actually everywhere because that's my only one traditionally published. So you can go to like Target.com, Walmart.com, any place that sells books, you can get it, or you can go into the store and order it. You can also follow me on social media. Facebook is Books by Lisa Jacovsky. Instagram is Lisa J Author, and I just made a book talk.
Hey.
So you can come follow me on TikTok.
Awesome.
Lisa J Author there as well. And you can always message me, and I do ship free and sign. Or if you're in Jersey and around, you can come to one of my next 4 festivals. Meet me in person, and I can sign it for you as well.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of Happy Thoughts. Our guest has been Lisa Jacovsky. Lisa, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Jazz. This was amazing.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. Please be sure to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, @readingwithyourkids on Instagram and TikTok, and @JedleyMagic on Twitter. Of course, we would love for you to subscribe to the show wherever you find your favorite shows. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, Apple Podcasts. Like I said, wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. And of course, you can listen to every episode of the show at our website, readingwithyourkids.com. You can also download our free online magazine, check out our blog, and check out our Certified Great Read Wall of Fame. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, we're going to start by thanking our guests, Lori Olinsky, Allison Bork, and Lisa Jacovsky. I want to thank my amazing team, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Chris Doherty, Nick Warner, Kyoko Ito, Kayla Newland, Kristen Barrett, Sydney Swan. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all of her support. And most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.